This portion of the John Fredericks Show is brought to you by Hargrave Military Academy. Attend an educational and informative open house event at Hargrave Military Academy in Chatham, Virginia. For more information, visit online at hargrave.edu. Hargrave Military Academy. Build his future.
Joining us now is State Senator David Marsden. He's a Democrat from the 37th District of Virginia. That's in the Centerville area. Senator, great to have you with us right here on the show. How you doing?
Good, John. Good to be back.
Okay. Now, as I understand it, Senator, you've got a beef with E.W. Jackson, the Republican candidate for lieutenant governor. Last week, he called for a constitutional amendment to, if I could just sum this up in layman's terms, in Virginia, so that if you make the choice to homeschool your child, which is a fine choice that some people decide to make, that you should get a tax incentive for that, because he's saying, why should you be paying into the public school system if you decide to have your student homeschooled within your own environment? Now, we understand, Senator, that you've got a beef with that. What is it?
Well, I wouldn't call it a beef. Certainly have a disagreement. That's pretty unfortunate policy to look towards going towards something like that. I would hate for people to start homeschooling their kids to look for some kind of financial advantage for the family. Now, I understand. I'm a fan of homeschoolers too. I think they've turned out some absolutely amazing students, and I think it's the right thing for a lot of families and for a lot of kids. But when you start with this kind of a policy that is going to cost millions and millions of dollars coming out of the general fund and going toward families and putting a strain on our already underfunded public schools, I think that's a real problem.
Well, I think E.W. Jackson's argument is that, look, if your son or daughter is being homeschooled, well, they're not in the system. They're not taking up student space. They're not participating in the after-school events or the interscholastic activities and things like that. So if you choose to withdraw from the public school system, then why do you have to pay taxes into the public schools? I mean, obviously that's saving the schools the cost of that child being there. So why not give the parents the proper tax incentive for that?
Well, here is the problem, and it's a matter, as anyone on the Finance Committee can tell you in the Senate or the Appropriations Committee in the House, is that there's a thing called captured costs. Now, let me just give you an example. Now, suppose we have about 150 elementary schools here in Fairfax County. It's a big school system. Now, suppose one child from every grade in every school decided to homeschool, and that the state decided to transfer the money that they put into that child's education, to the families. Now, think about it for a minute. Most of our elementary schools are anywhere between 600 and 900 kids, and so you're taking 6 kids out of that school. Tell me what you've saved. Those costs are captured by those buildings, the teachers, the janitors, the bus drivers, the nurse, the principal. All of those things would still be in place, still have to be funded, and now you're starting to drain money away from that. What you're actually doing is creating more cost centers. And when you create more cost centers, your price per child goes up. So this would be a devastating policy to our education funding in Virginia. And let me just say one other thing, John, is that our public schools in America have been the foundation for making us the country that we are. Now, certainly we're going through some struggles right now in terms of the way education is delivered, and I think we need to make improvements, but we cannot abandon the thing that has made this country great by giving everybody an equal shot at getting a good education.
That's a tough argument for me to take issue with, because obviously the majority of people are in the public school system, and so there's no doubt the emphasis has to be improving them. Look, I think Bishop Jackson missed a tremendous opportunity to really inject himself in a meaningful way in the education debate in Virginia. I would have loved to see him pull out a soapbox and stand in front of one of the public schools in, say, Portsmouth, Virginia, where nobody can send their kids to these schools. They rank in the bottom 5 across the country. They've got high school kids that are reading at a 5th grade level. I think he could have stood there in front of one of these schools and said, as long as we allow this to go on, we're never going to be a first-class society. We can't get our kids educated. We got to fix these public schools. Here's my plan for that. Instead, we're talking about giving money to people that make the choice to homeschool, which is fine. I'm all for a choice, and that program is available. But I just think he missed a real opportunity. Look, Senator, at the end of the day, in Virginia, 2.5% of people choose to homeschool their children. That's their choice. But it's 2.5%. And so I don't see where this argument makes any sense. The other thing is, as a conservative, I'm tired of these calls for constitutional amendments. I'm happy with our Constitution. I want to protect our Constitution. I don't want any amendments. I don't want you to touch the darn thing. It drives me nuts.
We attempt to inscribe everything into our Constitution, and then that's not the way to go. The world is a place in constant change, and when we do things, we need to make them in law. Most of the time, not in the Constitution. But here's one thing to remember: when schools continually struggle to perform for kids, chances are it's the community that surrounds that school that's struggling. Problems of unemployment, crime, problems with illegal substances. All of these things are what we need to deal with and to make improvements in. You can't just say we're going to go in and make this a better school. You need to make our community stronger so that they can send kids to school who are prepared to succeed when they get there. And so it's not just a question of going in and having some magic fairy dust that you put on a school in a community that's struggling. And that's just the way it is. It's the kind of work I do professionally. I worked as the technical assistance director for the National Forum on Youth Violence Prevention. We're working with 10 of our most challenged cities in the country to try to reduce murder rates. And this is not an easy thing, and you don't do this by just beefing up your police department. You get into prevention, you get into intervention, you do better reentry, you do law enforcement programs that make sense and that are effective. There's no one single magic bullet to fix education. It's a broad category of interventions that need to be made, and a lot of them deal more with the community than they do with the school.
You hit it on the head, and again, I think E.W. Jackson would have been much better served had he come out with a very comprehensive educational platform in order to hold teachers accountable, try to find out what the problem is in these areas, and come up with some plan to fix it. I think the answer of, well, let's just pull everybody out of the system and take the money with us is a ridiculous argument. It isn't going to fly. It has no impact. It impacts 2.5% of Virginians. And to me, that entire statement was nothing beyond intellectual masturbation as far as I'm concerned. Senator Bob McDonnell's apology the other day, what did you make of it?
Well, I think it's a good start on starting to untangle the situation and give people in Virginia some of the information they need as to what has transpired. I think there's probably some more information that the governor will be coming out with to explain to people how this situation occurred and what happened and what didn't happen. And we look forward to that, to that transparency.
Senator, based on what you see now, do you think there's any chance at all that Governor McDonnell might get indicted?
I really have no idea of that. I think that those are complex legal questions. Certainly, the ethics rules in Virginia are so very, very loose. It seems to me it would be somewhat difficult to come up with any kind of criminal indictment out of this, but I don't know. It just depends on some very nuanced circumstances within some of the things that we've heard about in the newspapers that only those in the legal system are aware of, and I think we need to wait and let the let the process take its course. There's an FBI investigation. There's a grand jury investigation. The Commonwealth attorney in Richmond is looking into things. These are the institutions we put in place to deal with these things, and I think we need, to the extent possible, keep them out of the realm of politics. The only time politicians ought to weigh in on these things, I think, is when the system isn't working, when our law enforcement folks and our oversight people who are supposed to look into these kinds of things aren't doing their job, then yeah, let's stand up and holler about that. But right now the system seems to be working the way it's supposed to, and we need to give them time to come up with a good, sound, fair decision for everyone.
I think that makes a lot of sense, Senator. Let's get to this EB-5 visa fiasco here that's now embroiling Democratic gubernatorial candidate Terry McAuliffe. The Republicans are really pushing this thing out to the media, saying that it could be, it is the smoking gun in the campaign. My view right now is, at the end of the day, I don't think, from what I've seen, McAuliffe did anything wrong. And the fact that he set a meeting up with somebody and tried to fast track something to get the money in for his company, I just don't see where this has got legs. What about you?
No, I don't think it does either. And when you're the CEO of a company, you're there to take care of to use every legal and appropriate opportunity you have to improve the chance of your company's success for your stockholders, and that's a pretty good core Virginia conservative value that you need to do that for the people who have invested in your company, and getting the best possible talent, getting whatever the state is able to do for you to ensure your company's success is prudent business dealings.
I would go back to the fact, just like I think the laws in Virginia that govern gift giving for lobbyists and public officials are ridiculous. It's like the Wild West; those have to be changed. I would say the same thing with the EB-5 visa. I mean, the government came up with this; it's the law. And obviously, if you're starting a company and you're trying to take advantage of it, you're going to meet with as many people as you can in order to fast track it and to see if you're able to provide the people that could be interested with a way to get approved, so you're able to get the $500,000 in. I mean, that was the objective of the program. The fact that you're going around meeting with people, when they're saying, well, he was leveraging his contacts. Well, that's what people do in Washington. That's all they do. So yeah. I just at the end of the day, I mean, I'm very frustrated with this campaign because I want both of these candidates to lay out their positive vision for Virginia. I'm tired of talking about EB-5 visas and sodomy laws. How about you?
And that's the way this campaign has started off in terms of everybody is certainly trying to frame the other guy in a certain light that will be unfavorable. And I think that we've started to see some of that. I certainly picked up strains of some positive messaging on the economy and on Virginia's future. I think I picked a good bit more of that from Terry McAuliffe in the most recent debate than I did from Attorney General Cuccinelli. But I think you're right. I think Virginians do want to see what these candidates are going to do, how Ralph Northam is going to support education versus the plans we just discussed on E.W. Jackson for Attorney General. Who's going to look after the interests of Virginians in the legal system, Mark Herring or Mark Obenshain. And I think with what's been going on with women in the Commonwealth of Virginia and the strains that have been put on their constitutionally protected rights, Mark Herring has a very different message than Mark Obenshain, who's consistently opposed those things. And Ralph Northam's education record is first rate for trying to support preschool, trying to support our public schools in every way that he can. And I think Terry McAuliffe is starting to pull away in terms of the positive message about where Virginia needs to go and his ability to get there. The one thing I like about Terry, there's a lot of things I like about Terry, but one of the things I like about him the most is he listens. And every time I've been with him, you can tell he's focused on you. And I think he's going to bring the kind of people to government in Virginia who can pull a team together, that he can pull a team together with, and get this Commonwealth back where it needs to be. And I'm really looking forward to continued debate and a positive message from both candidates.
Okay, Senator, we're almost out of time. Here's my final question. Would you buy a pre-owned vehicle off of Terry McAuliffe?
Of course I would. It is, I think Terry, gets this rap, if you will. But this is a guy who's been in business since he was 14 years old. He was a bank chairman at 29. He's done nothing but attempt to employ people, put people to work, to make a success for himself and his family. And I just because Terry's personality is such that he's an ebullient, positive, effervescent kind of guy, I think people get the wrong impression from that. This is a good man. This is a man who has been living in the same place and raising a family and doing all the things that we want responsible Americans to do over the years. And I think he's a very, very good man, and I look forward to having him as our next governor.
Well, right now he's winning, so we'll have to see how it plays out. If Terry McAuliffe sold you a pre-owned vehicle, though, he would probably put one of those disablers in it. So if you miss one payment, they can now disable your vehicle and then have a GPS and go repo the car. That's probably what he would do. Hey, Senator, we're out of time. We want to thank you for joining us here on the John Fredericks Show. And the next time you see Terry McAuliffe, Senator, would you do me a favor and ask him to come on our show, please?
I will certainly convey that message to Terry. And as always, John, it's a pleasure to be on your show. You're hitting at some some important issues here in the Commonwealth and drawing some distinctions between the positions of different politicians running for office, and I think that's a good thing, and I appreciate you doing it and appreciate you having me on.
Okay, Senator, always a pleasure to have you on. Have a great weekend. That was Senator David Marsden. He's a Democrat from Centerville, Virginia. That's in the Fairfax area. Sir, thanks for being with us.